I would love to come out and hang out in Texas for a few weeks and just like be a fly on the wall just to see what you guys are doing. Because after 10 minutes of talking with you, I'm like, dude, Texas is some wild shit. Like, what is happening over there? Welcome to Last Known Vitals. My name is John Smith, and today I'm sitting down with Anthony Nguyen. Anthony's a medic out of Texas. He's been a EMT for about 5 years and just became a paramedic about a year ago. Anthony, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, yeah, I'm happy to just be here. You know, it's bright, it's early. I'm happy to be awake, although I am a little bit pulseless and apneic, but hey, we're here.
Yeah, just do it quietly. That's all we ask. If you're going to try to, kick the bucket, we just do it quietly so you don't bother your friends.
Yeah, no, they don't really exist. So.
Right? So you just got off of shift last night, right? You worked last night?
No, I worked the night prior. Last night was me struggling to prep for this.
Oh, you didn't have to prep for this. We're just shooting the shit, man.
Yeah.
So you're a medic in Texas.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the culture there.
All right, so Texas is a delegated practice state, so we work under whatever our doctor signs us off to do, right? As a regular street medic, my doctor said, hey, I'm going to train you to start A-lines. Great. You're cleared for A-lines. Like, our delegated practice is wild.
All right, right there. We're going to stop for a quick second. So your medical director can basically tell you, train you up and then tell you you're good to go on anything that they want?
Yes, sir. Within reason.
That's crazy to me. So in New Hampshire, like there's a whole board, and again, I'm talking with ignorance here, but I believe there's like a whole EMS board that kind of collectively comes up with the protocols, and there's like doctors, medics, there's like a whole bunch of people on there that kind of come together and say, all right, this is what we should allow our paramedics to do and all that stuff. That's insane to me.
Yeah, because I know there are few counties where doctors have trained basics to perform just tubing patients. Like basics are dropping tubes because their doctor allowed them to do so under delegated practice.
I am very confused and concerned by that. So they don't have the formal education as a paramedic, and they're not nationally registered as a paramedic, but yet they can perform paramedic level skills.
Yep. So luckily in Texas, we do have a bunch of medics just running around everywhere. We do have a shortage though. For our population, I think we're less than 1%. There's currently just a little above 22,000 medics in Texas. And maybe like 7,000 advanced.
Coming from New Hampshire, I feel like that's a small number. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'll take your word for it for sure.
Yeah.
So what kind of system do you guys operate in? Are you like a PB, a double medic?
So my system is one basic, one medic. So every call, every patient gets a ALS assessment done. And it's up to me on if I would downgrade this patient or not. Typically I don't. Refusals, I write 100% of all refusals. Just to CYA, just cover my butt. So.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a smart move. When I was a medic on the street, we could triage back to BLS, and they taught us that that's appropriate. But every single time, I'm like, man, it's just easier to ride with that patient to the hospital. It avoids any headaches, and because as you know, whatever's happening right now, 5 minutes down the road, it's a complete shit show, and everything turned around, and then you look like a fool. Right. And
yep.
So to me, it was always like easier just to ride the call. And I was only like 15, 20 minutes to the hospital. So it always left a little bit of a unsettling feeling in my stomach whenever I did triage somebody, even though like we were 100% allowed to and encouraged to if it was appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we all just ride these calls because the QA process sucks. So I'd rather just ride this patient than have to explain to QA why I felt like this patient was stable to ride at like a basic level.
Yeah,
You know what? It's fine.
you almost write like longer report when you're trying to defend yourself against something that you don't even need to defend against right now, but it's like what could possibly come my way in a week or so from this. And
Oh yeah.
I always found like the report was always so much more detailed, so much longer on it, any triage that I did.
Yep. No, like no, you know what? I'll just ride it. It's okay. I hate driving. I have back issues. I became a medic to ride calls, so I
Yeah,
didn't have to
exactly.
drive. So,
How long are you guys' transport times?
so we are. If I went to a regular hospital, it'd be maybe 10 minutes. If my patient needed like a comprehensive stroke or a trauma one activation, we have the option of being within four of those within about 15 to 25 minutes. So,
Oh wow! So obviously, we're not going to identify where we work or anything like that. But the area that you work in, what's like the general populace? Like how many people are in the area that you cover?
I live in a pretty small town. I work in a pretty small town. The area itself is a metroplex. So, but where
What?
I work, we cover about uh roughly around 40,000 people.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's not entirely small. Like a lot of the towns around here, around that 35, 40,000 mark. So I wouldn't call that
yeah,
small. I'd call like 2,000, 3,000 kind of small.
yeah. So, where I work, it's like a drive-through spot, right? So, like, the city next to ours has a population of 1.3 million people.
Okay.
And if they drive eastbound, then they pretty much go through my entire service area.
So you get a lot of traffic going from city to city, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys run for shifts? Are you doing like 24s?
So we run 12-hour peak trucks as well as we do have 24-hour trucks. The 24-hour trucks, they run on a 24/72 rotation. So they work every fourth day.
Okay. So at any given time, you guys have at least the minimum of one truck, and then during the 12-hour peak time, you have the two trucks?
So we have a total of 6 trucks. So four
Oh.
24-hour trucks and 2 peak hour trucks.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that all paramedic basic? Like every single truck? Is that like the
Yes, every
requirement?
truck. Yes. So,
So now you've been a medic for a little over a year, you said. Was there a window of which you had to gain a little bit of experience before they just gave you the keys and said, go knock yourself out?
so when I first became a medic, I was working at 2 separate companies. My full-time job, I did 911, and my part-time job, I did transfers. Now with the issue with my part-time job was they run a lot of critical care transfers, so they required to be cleared as a primary medic, you had to learn how to run CCT calls, which is great, but pretty much I had maybe a month worth of training before I learned how to run vents, A lines, and multiple pumps on my own. So it was like, it was drilled into me. And then when I cleared for primary at my full time job, well, I now find myself running both transfers and 911, which I love. So it's fine. I get a break from one for the other.
In true Texas fashion, it sounds like you guys do some cowboy shit out there.
Hey, you know what? Yeehaw.
What do you like more? Do you like the 911 or the IFT?
Definitely, I'm more of a IFT medic. I joined this field for the dump of just huge dopamine dumps, right? And then I fucked around and fell in love with critical care. So,
Now, when you said you guys have to like you got trained up a little bit on critical care in New Hampshire, anyways, we have what's called PIFT. It's the paramedic interfacility transfer training, and that includes vent training, additional pharmacology, things like that.
uh
Where you guys are allowed to do whatever your doctor says you are you allowed to like take those critical care calls without having an actual critical care certification? Like for us, it's two or more pressors is a big one. That's like one of the
yeah,
key defining factors
Uh,
to becoming critical care.
yeah, so as long as they're comfortable with me running those calls, I can, and I have proven myself over and over again. Uh, I have taken patients on 2 pressors, with a sedative and a anti-dysrhythmic med, all without a freaking A line. And that was a 45-minute transfer with lights and sirens going because essentially this patient was in a STEMI for 3 days. It was an ICU to ICU call, and long story short, the sending facility kept this patient on BiPAP with just Precedex for way too long.
Wh- BiPAP with Presidex?
Yes, I have a whole video on my TikTok about this, me making fun of this, and people were like, "That's not how Precedex work." But I was like, for extended duration, you're gonna go from mild sedation to completely sedated. You know,
Yeah,
um, this patient was unstable for so long before they called for transfer that essentially when I got him to the receiving ICU, there was an ECMO machine in the ICU waiting for him. So
I would love to come out and hang out in Texas for a few weeks and just like be a fly on the wall just to see what you guys are doing. Because after 10 minutes of talking with you, I'm like, dude, Texas is some wild shit. Like, what is happening over there? I mean, sure, I guess, right? Like,
yeah,
I just,
no,
I
we're pretty
question
like
the,
it's pretty aggressive out here. So
yeah. I mean, how often does shit go south? No pun intended there. I guess with these very loose protocols that you guys operate under.
uh not very often actually. It benefits the patient a lot more because we are trained up. We do a lot of training. So it may seem like cowboy shit because we're not taking the extra courses, but we are trained up to to that level,
How so?
right? Um every day, when I go to station, you'll find me in our lab and I'm throwing tubes in multiple different ways. And I'm sure you see me tube a mannequin with some forceps.
I did.
Yeah.
That was
Would
funny.
I do that in field? No.
I
But
hope not.
it's a great party trick, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can all fuck around with the equipment and just have fun with it. You know, I did a video with
Yeah, no.
IOing a corn on the cob for Christ's sake. You know.
Yeah. I'm gonna avoid the topic of IO right now because of Discord. So
Okay. All right. We'll stay away from that one. Speaking of the Discord thing, you had mentioned that it's the Medics After Dark Discord, right?
yes, it is.
Tell me what that's all about.
So that Discord was created by Nightmare Medic on TikTok. We were just on live one day and we are like, man, we really need like a space to hang out and just vent it out without having to worry about like the guidelines just bombing us, right? So the idea of Discord came up, and this thing has been up for maybe 2-3 weeks, and it's taken off. Like we have a decent amount of members. And what's cool is that it pretty much allows us to teach like basics, how to take the national to become a medic, become a advance, right? But we also have students who are in school to become basics. So that allows us to prep them for scenarios, patient assessment, and pretty much we answer any question they have. And because we all work in different states, at any given time, if there's a question that comes in at 3 a.m., there may be a medic that's online that will answer that question the minute you ask it. So it's like we pretty much have all regions covered except for the West Coast. We don't have anyone west of the Rocky Mountains.
All right. So if you're listening to this and you're in the West Coast, feel free to join this. Is this open to the public? Like, what's the how do you get
Yes,
involved in this?
it's open to anybody. If you work in this field or not, if you're a cop, that's cool. If you just fight fires, that's cool. If you are basic or you're a student, advanced, medic, it's open, it's free. We do have roles on there that would allow you special access to certain spots in this group. Because a lot of it is we also talk about our our PTSD, our in our mental health. We're trying to set up a spot in there where we have the resources to help you as well. So we're pushing real hard on that, actually.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's a great resource for people to go and be able to kind of either vent or share calls, just try to be a good resource for people. You know,
Mhm.
you had said PTSD. Personally, I try to drop the D in there. I like to think of it as post traumatic stress. I don't
Yeah,
find it to be a disorder personally. It's like, no, you dealt with some shit, you've seen some shit, and now like you're trying to handle that. And
yeah,
I think people with the thought behind it of being a disorder, it really I feel like has a negative effect on people, like to be able willing to talk about it. And I
mhm.
think that the fact that you guys are doing something like that is amazing. And I would strongly recommend anybody to get involved in that. And now I'm gonna be checking that out myself as well. We had talked about it just the other day. And I
Mhm.
actually popped on a TikTok live, or excuse me, you guys were all on TikTok live, that whole group, and you guys were having a great time. And I was listening in. I unfortunately couldn't join at the moment, but it seemed like you had some really good folks in there talking some good stuff, and it seemed like a good conversation to be a part of.
Oh, yeah. So no conversation is off limits in that group, right? So it's like if you're there, you're gonna hear some pretty wild stuff. You may see some wild stuff on there, but everything is HIPAA compliant. So
Okay, that's a very important thing because like you gotta maintain that patient confidentiality. At the end of the day,
yep,
we can all shoot the shit, but it's like be professional, right? So
yeah,
with that being said, now where you said some wild shit. Now back in the day, I was part of a Facebook group, and I'll be very honest, it was pretty wild.
yeah.
How do you prevent this from becoming something like that where it's more or less just a meme and people just going off the deep end? Like, do you guys moderate that and like keep people in check?
Yes, we do. We have a very, very active team of admins, me being one. I can guarantee you there's 24 hours in a freaking day. I'm there for 20 hours. And we 100% review all chats. And we will ban you if you are just flying off of that rail. It's like, okay, well, you are a problem and we can't allow this. So
Right. That's good to have because I feel like, people will just get carried away. And then
oh
on
yeah.
top of it, you have these people that are brand new into this field and have no idea and they're listening to like seasoned folks talk shit. And it's just like, I don't know that that's always the best thing for those new people to really be exposed
Yeah.
to early on.
Yeah. And we have a lot of warnings. We will warn you, we will message you privately, and if this just goes to the fucking wall, then yeah, we're just gonna you gotta go, bud.
Cool. Cool. I like that. Keep the community positive and beneficial for everybody to be involved and
Yep.
get rid of the trolls and the people that just bring negativity to it.
Yep.
What is one thing that you have learned so far from doing this Discord? What give me tell me one specific thing.
Um I've gotten really good at reading changes in people, right? So I've noticed that some people they're in that zone where certain calls that they ran is really affecting them. So because you can see that shift, because I talk to these people almost every day. And when that mood shift happens, it's prominent. So I'm like, hey, take a break. You don't really need to be in here because your vibe is throwing off everybody. But message me if you need me and we'll talk about it. It's not so much, hey, I'm saying you can't be here. I'm like, you can be here all you want, but just you're blowing up on everybody and you're going to dig yourself into a hole that you're not going to get out of. Like, I know you're probably going through something because of what you saw or what someone said, but if you need to talk, I'm more than happy to talk, because I've been there. It's really taught me to be a lot more patient with people as well. Because I made this joke. I am a crash out medic. You piss me off, I'm going off. Um, that hasn't happened in almost 2 months, so it's been great. But part of it was because I was dealing with the PTS from my old calls, and it was processing, and it was processing fast, and it hit me. So I was like, all right, well, I need to take a breather.
No, a breather from the Discord? Is that what you're specifically referring to?
Breather from anything that was EMS related when I'm off duty. Because sometimes we just need to like not worry about it, don't think about it. But yeah.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine who has kind of an unwritten rule of like we can talk shop if we need to because we're handling our shit. But when we're
Hmm.
not at work, we don't talk shop. Like it's just that's the thing, and I kind of like
Yeah.
it because it helps separate the two worlds, right? Like if you work in EMS and you know you're bound to see some pretty horrific shit one way or the other. It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
And when you just continue to perseverate on that after the fact in the wrong setting, you're not helping yourself. It's not beneficial. So I'm glad that you guys do recognize when people are kind of going off the deep end a little bit and saying, hey, like,
Uh,
let's talk privately. Like, maybe we can help you out a little bit. But instead of blowing up and just venting it out like that in a non-constructive way, there's definitely better approaches. So I applaud
yeah.
you
Oh
all
yeah.
for being on top of that. One of the things that I noticed on your TikTok is you have an extracurricular that you enjoy doing. And I enjoyed watching said video a few times. It was you breakdancing.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you just find yourself in the mood to breakdance. Because if I tried
So
that, I'm going to the hospital.
yeah, so I started breakdancing at a very young age. I was 10, right? So that's 20 years ago that I started this. I did it on and off from the age of 10 until I was about 13. When I was 13, I picked it up a bit again, but I would do very few moves, right? And then when was the Olympics?
Oh, which one?
The
Every
most
4
recent
years, my
one,
friend.
right?
Every 4
The
years.
most recent one where they finally brought in breakdancing.
Oh,
And
yes, 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 yes.
yeah, so I was like, about time, right? But that video I made was originally a meme attacking Team Australia's women breakdancing team.
That lady that put
Yeah,
herself out there, man. My hat goes off.
my hat goes off to her too because, golly, I've seen some breakdancers from Australia, and they had some options. They had a lot of options. Don't know why they picked her, but you know what? To each their own, right?
Right.
But yeah, so sometimes when I'm stressed out, that is what I do. I also fish. I do photography. But in the moment, that is my biggest thing that I do is I'll randomly start breakdancing. Now, it's kind of odd though, because I fractured my left arm like 2 times. I've dislocated my right knee multiple times, and I have a bad back. So I don't breakdance the same way I did back in high school, but I definitely do it every now and then.
Yeah, maybe you should stick to that fishing. It's slightly less dangerous, Unless you're with a little kid, then they hook you and then you're fucked.
Is it though?
Yeah, right. What kind
I
of
live
fish
in
do you like to?
Texas.
What do you like to fish for?
So right now I'm big on like bass as well as catfish. But Texas lakes, they're all man-made, or majority of them are man-made lakes. So sometimes I might fish up a bike tire. I've
Maybe a body.
actually, yeah, maybe a foot.
Yeah, right.
I've I have actually snagged a few cottonmouths. So just that thing where I'm reeling it in, I see a snake and the mouth opens up and it's white. I just cut my line. Be like, okay, well, I just lost that entire line.
Yeah, no, that's worth the $5-10. I don't care how much that lure is. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day because a bite from a cottonmouth, I'll tell you what, the anti-venom is expensive. On top of that, you're going to be on vancomycin.
Yeah, no, that's something I would love to avoid in my life as a
Oh,
cottonmouth
yeah.
bite.
Is
Yeah,
it
we
because of
have.
vank?
Yeah, I mean the vank doesn't sound funny either.
No.
We have I think we have some rattlesnakes up here, like, and I mean like 7 of them maybe, like
Yeah.
it's so rare. We do have like the black water snakes around here. Those are very they're everywhere. But the idea of needing to worry about that while I'm fishing, I like the fact that I don't.
Yeah. We have about 7 different snakes here, 7 different species of snakes in North Texas that are venomous.
Oh Jesus! So you're in North Texas then?
Yeah, more like North Central Texas, so,
Okay.
or
And you
Northeast.
had said
I don't know.
a lot of those lakes are man-made.
A lot of them are man-made. Yeah, so there are natural lakes, but in my area, majority of them are man-made lakes, which is bizarre because they're pretty big lakes.
So one of the other things that I really want to talk about was the charting system. You had mentioned that you use something called D-chart, something to that effect. Talk to me about that. What is that?
So D-chart is a very specific way that the transfer company I worked for wanted me to chart every single patient. And I'm not gonna lie, most of my charts were pre-written because every transfer was almost the same, with the exception of my vent transfers, right? So vent, I put everything in my chart: vent settings, rates, whatnot, pump settings, all that goes in my chart. Now, the biggest curve I had was trying to figure out in D chart where I would put this, right? And there's a whole treatment section, but I was like, nothing fits in there. So I was like, okay, cool. So, and I had mentioned in that same clip that, oh, well, I like soap charting. No, I don't.
Yeah,
I do not like soap charting. Okay, the way I chart tells a story. I chart in chronological order, right? Dispatch, scene, transport, at destination, right? That's how I chart. I can paint the whole picture, what I did where. So that's my biggest way to cover my ass, is how I chart. But being forced to use like formats like D chart or SOAP, I don't agree with services forcing us to do that. And I get why. It turns back to billing, right? So it's like,
yep,
I chart for me in case my chart gets subpoenaed, not for billing.
right.
So that's just how I look at things.
One of the when I was working on as a street medic, we were able to kind of do what we wanted, and then the
Mm-hmm.
service that I worked for progressed into more from a hospital based, and it's still hospital based, but it became more a little bit more private EMS.
Mm-hmm.
Basically we created an entire EMS system, and I say we, it was my boss and all that stuff, and they did a fantastic job. But you went from 20, give or take 20 medics that had a lot of experience to 100 plus employees and managing BLS and all that. So you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine the billing nightmare that came along with that. And we actually had to do something similar where they requested that we do hit certain points. We were still able to kind of chart how we wanted to, but they
Mm-hmm.
definitely had a few points that you had to cover in your narrative one way or the other. And I know a few medics that would literally still do their entire chronological exactly how they did it. And then
Mm-hmm.
underneath that, they would almost do like a double charting just to hit those points and make the
Yep.
boss happy. Because, at the end of the day, it's you got to make the boss happy. But
Yeah.
it definitely ruffled a few feathers when you were told how to go about your documentation. And I'm right there with you. I think you hit it right on the head. Like, I need the document so I can protect myself against a subpoena, right? And at the end of
Yep.
the day, that's what it really boils down to when it comes to protecting your license. But for me, I wanted to paint a picture for anybody who wasn't there. They could read
Mm-hmm.
my chart and say, oh, this is exactly what happened. And you said it right from the beginning, your dispatch, what you arrived to see on scene, your patient assessment, your treatment, how it worked out, etc. And to me, that's the best way to really just paint a complete picture opposed to subjective, objective, plan, all that stuff. Like,
Yep.
I just feel like you have a lot more ability to paint a clear picture at that point.
Yep.
And it's funny too, because during medic school, we had to use something called Fisdap, and it was, I guess, their way of
Oh,
trying to prepare you to
it's crap.
start writing reports. So are you
Yep.
familiar with Fisdap?
Yeah, so I've used Fisdap and then I use Platinum Planner as well. So it's terrible. Both of them suck equally. Um, but because neither softwares are close to any charting software that we actually use in field, like ESO or Image Trend, right? Like none of those will be replicated to what we actually use. So I was like, oh, it's more so I'm gonna chart this to cover this skill. But the flowchart is so messy on both softwares.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done any real charting. I did work for a company recently enough where I was using what's called Tempsys. That's the New Hampshire kind
Yeah.
of generalized charting system. And then obviously like the private EMS companies will have their own, or, they can use Tempsys and things like that. And it's come a long ways. It went from like a web-based every page, you'd have to wait for it to reload. It was absolute shit. And and
Mhm.
and now I got to say, I love Tempsys, and not, I mean, there might be a few people that listen to this and call me out, but I really enjoy it. Like it has come so far. I think it's very easy to get all the information out there. It flows nicely. So a good charting system is paramount these days. Like you really need it. Like, and there's no excuse to not have decent charting with the technology available today. The only thing I think would make it better is if we could dictate. If I could dictate into my chart, like life would be good.
Just chart using a iPad, voice to text.
So yes, so that's exactly what I would do. It's funny you said that. So obviously we have like the tough books and things like that that don't have any of that capability.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I can just access Tempsys on my personal computer. and
Uh-huh.
and obviously there comes a little bit of you know potential issue there, but fortunately it's very well regulated. Anytime you log in, it like they can see it, they can see every little
Yeah.
thing you're doing. So
Yep.
with that being said, you have to be trusted as a professional to do your job and do it well. and
Yep.
and once I discovered that I could do that, that's exactly what I did. I started utilizing the voice to text on my MacBook, and it made life much easier. But
Mhm.
on the companies that don't allow that, then obviously you're still back to, just typing it out, which, all right, whatever. It beats handwriting it though, right?
Are you though? Because you can just open your notes on your phone, do a voice to text and then email it to your work email. Log onto your work email from the computer, copy and paste the entire narrative into the chart.
That's brilliant. I would never even have thought of that.
And the only reason why I know that was because I did that because I worked for a company where for us to access our charting system, it was IP locked. So it
Oh, okay.
had to be a company owned computer. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I can access my email from this computer. So I would open the notes in my phone, do voice to text, copy the entire narrative, and then send it through.
Fucking true medic right there. If there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You can always count on EMS to figure out the MacGyver shit, man. Like that's what EMS is, right? Like we're
All
MacGyver
right.
at the end of the day. So
It is.
that's
That's how we
awesome.
started. So,
That's too funny. So, talk to me a little bit more about your TikTok. That's how I actually got to meet you, through TikTok.
yeah.
And in one of your videos, it truly just it had me laughing out loud. And we'll go into that one specifically in a minute. But talk to me about like what your whole game on TikTok is.
So, my TikTok is just a way for me to make fun of my job in light humor, right? So, if you've seen my TikToks, then I've made fun of us running lights and sirens to a hemorrhage. It turns out it's a broken fingernail, you know? And then I've made fun of the worst thing I've seen, which would be my paycheck, right? Uh it's just I do things in light humor, right? There are a lot of dark things we see in this job. And there are ways for us to spin it around. We're like, well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad, but the dark side has stale cookies and expired milk. I'll get to it when I'm done with my chart. So
Right.
it's something that I do a lot.
So that was actually the video that really made me say, "Hey, who the hell is this guy?" The whole, what's the worst thing you've ever seen, and it was your paycheck and etc. And my whole mission is to reframe that question to the general public instead of asking us what's the worst thing we've ever seen, because to me that's like asking me to relive my worst nightmares, and I'd prefer not to do that. So I always encourage people, like, ask me what one of the coolest things is, or what's one of the craziest things you've ever seen, because I feel like we can take that question and still answer their question to fill their desire without having me need to go down that horrible road that I work very hard to stay off of. So let me ask you that. What is one of the coolest or craziest stories you have working in EMS?
So I actually made a video about that exact question, right? And I don't know if you saw it, but like when I became a brand new medic, one of the craziest thing I've seen or had done was I delivered my first baby, right? Um, and we got on scene to this call. Mom was in the passenger seat of a car. She walked to the ambulance and she was like, I feel the baby's head is out. And I just remember my partner asking if she had on her panties. And she was like, yes. And out from my mouth, I said, then don't sneeze as we're unloading the stretcher. we get her inside and we get baby out, right? So we did a field birth. It was great. Only for me to have another field birth 2 shifts later.
Did anybody want to work with you after that? Because I wouldn't.
I wouldn't want to work with me too because I think I'm past the black cloud part of this job. I'm more like a black phantom. There's a area or a station that if I work, the chief will be like, "All right, I'm going home."
Turn my phone off. Don't call me.
Right? Don't request fire. No, those guys are great. But the other day I had a 35 weeker, and I was like, "Oh man, here I go again." I said I am Obi-Wan today because the call came out as 35-week pregnant, feels pressure, has discharge. Like, great, right? And this was a transfer, I've done 2 field births on a 911 truck, but this was just a transfer. So I walk in, and the first thing I asked the nurse, I was like, "How is her cervix?" And the nurse goes on this whole spiel about how she wouldn't let them check her cervix, yada, yada, yada. 15 minutes later, I find out they did check this patient's cervix. It's high and it's closed. Great. You let me worry the last 15 minutes for what?
Right. No baby yet.
No baby. Nowhere close, right? So I'm like, cool.
Right.
Well, she won't deliver or she won't go into labor for a while. And I got a 15-minute ground and pound transport. Let's just go ahead and go now. So
That's awesome. So you and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you said you really like the IFT world, and I'm in the same boat, man. I worked for a intercept-based 911 system, and when we created that EMS system, I volunteered to come off of one of those intercept trucks and jump on that IFT truck because, like you, I'm very passionate about that. So with that being said, and where you're into that kind of medicine, do you have any desire to get into the hospital?
I've looked at the nursing bridge so many times. So many times. I've looked at the RT courses, and I found myself paying for the flight medic course instead because I realized I can't be in one building for 12 straight hours. Like every time I walk into the hospital now, I just hear the beeping of the monitors, the alarms. It's like, I will never get used to that. And I know this because during my clinicals, I did my rotation in the ER at a trauma one. All I constantly heard is the and just the beepings and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, no, I can't do it. So shout out to you nurses. You guys are really patient. I assume that freaking alarm now is white noise, somewhat.
Yes and no. Yes and no. It still drives me bananas, and obviously there's varying alarms for many different reasons. So there's like the few that still you hear it and you just your head snaps because it's legit, or it could be legit. But yeah, no, we definitely tune it out for sure, and I'll be the first to admit that. And sometimes it is overstimulating, and I just like shut that shit off,
I'm talking about specifically the tele alarm, when
the apnea alarm is my favorite because that's like the recording of the respirations with the 4-lead, 5-lead, whatever. It's just shit. It never works right. It's always off. And 9 out of 10 times the patient's sitting there looking at me going, "Hey, what why is it saying apnea?" And there it is. It's like just this little terrible waveform because it's not reading. And it drives me bananas.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have alarms that on my life pack constantly go off, and it's like, I can't change it, It's like SpO2, poor perfusion. And it's like, I mean, he's on a ventilator. What do you want me to do?
Right.
He's already on 100% FiO2,
Yeah. I can't increase this any further.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of just changing the parameters a little bit. And obviously it's like if I have somebody who's tachycardic, right, and they're sitting there in the 130s and my high limit's 140, like the odds of them hitting that is pretty high, right? No pun intended. So I'll change it to like the 150, 155 mark. And obviously I'm aware that I'm doing that, so I'm keeping a closer eye on that. But in the hospital, as I am a nurse now, I definitely play around with those parameters a little bit to help. And it's not even just for me; it's for the patient because like it drives
Yeah.
them bananas as well. You know, and like it doesn't help them relax. Like when they start hearing those alarms, they have no idea what's going on, and to them, like the world is ending. So I really do try to cater my practice when it comes to that stuff more for the patient's sake versus mine. But it's like
Yeah.
we both benefit from it.
Yep. So
So
you're telling me you don't set it to like 180, like
if they're at
baseline
160, then 180. Yes, I always try to do like
baseline
15. Yeah,
SVT?
50 exactly, 15 to 20 points above or below wherever your baseline is or where you've been ranging.
Mhm.
That's usually my my window. But yeah, no, we try not to do a 180 base alarm. Like, hey, now I want to know. Like, no.
You're right.
But yeah, man, it's funny because you know I've been a medic for about 13 years, and when I first got my ticket, I'm not sure there was a dollar amount that you could have offered me to go become a registered nurse, right?
Mhm.
And like never in a million years, like every line under the sun, and here I am. So it's I would say never shut it out like where you said you couldn't be in one building for a while. For me, it was like, hey, I'm sick of the street. I like the idea of being in one place for a couple of
Mhm.
hours and wearing pajamas to work, getting out on time, etc. So I would encourage you to not completely shut that out, but you know, you're still a newer medic, so give it
Yeah.
some time, get some experience under your belt, and then you know, and the cool thing is you can always bridge into the hospital, or like you said, you wanted to go to flight, you know, and that's going to open up a lot of doors for you. One of the things about being a medic that always bugged me was I felt like I was kind of limited on what I could do in medicine, right? It's like you got
Yeah.
the street, you've got flight, and you've got the ER. And nowadays you have the mobile integrated health. So I'm really excited to learn more about that. What are your thoughts about the future of EMS and where it could potentially go?
So with the whole thing of having like medics in Tahoes to go to your house to check you out before you call 911, right? I think that is a great thing. One, because it will stop a lot of sick but not truly sick patients from showing up into the hospital, right? So most problems that we get in the street are problems that are preventable if someone would just show up and remind the patient, hey, take your blood pressure meds.
Right.
That's really it,
That
right? Like
wait. What's that blood pressure med called?
metoprolol.
Metoprolol. I just call it low pressure.
Metoprolol.
Yeah, exactly. See, man, you got some good shit on there. I really
Yep.
enjoy watching your videos. You're definitely definitely got the comedic.
Metoprolol.
Oh man, one of the other funny videos that really made me laugh was the stroke one. What made my what was it? What made you call a helicopter or something like that when it was
Right?
hypertensive?
Yeah. It's like that one time that hypertensive said something that made me call in a bird.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think you're right though. You know, that preventative medicine and you know, is that the world for EMS? That's like, and this is where like the future is going potentially, right? We have that
Yeah.
acute care medicine, but how do we bridge over to become more of that preventative medicine as well? I think there's some additional education needed, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to learn more about that for sure. Are you guys doing anything like that in your area?
So we have looked at doing the community healthcare medic program. So again, just guys in like Tahoe's and the hospitals would give us a list of what patients should be seen. And we'll stop by and we're like, hey, we're here from this hospital and they wanted us to come and check up and see how you are feeling. And if they feel like, okay, well, this person's sick, this warrants a ambulance ride, then we'll send them a truck, and we'll go.
Are you guys showing up unannounced, or is this like
No,
pre-planned?
no,
Do they cold
this
call? Like, how
is
does that all work?
yeah, I have no idea.
Okay, that's fair.
I have no idea. I am the guy that is a passenger princess in a Dodge 3500. So
Hell yeah. Amen to that. I love being driven around. It's like driving Miss Daisy. So, being a newer paramedic, you still are, you know, got a lot to learn, of course.
of
What would
course,
you recommend for anybody that's trying to get into EMS right now? And how would you say, like, your experiences could potentially guide them?
um, My biggest thing is I used to be bad about not asking questions on ride outs, right? And I've precepted a few times and I realize we love to teach. Regardless if that is our job or not, we love to teach. So to any student that is doing ride outs or they're close to doing ride outs, get like a little notebook, write down any questions you have, and when that person asks you, hey, do you have questions? We'd rather you say yes, I have questions than no, I don't, because then we go into this mindset where we assume that you think you know everything. So then the very next shift we kind of mess with you a bit, right? Um asking questions is always a great thing, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. So that's one thing that I wish I did more was ask more questions because a lot of things I learned, I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, we
So
all do. You're not
you're
alone there.
right. I felt like I was thrown to like the wolves and be like, you're gonna sink or swim. Like, great.
Yeah. I
Not
get
very
asked a
good
lot. Oh, go ahead.
not very good patient care there when you're tossing a brand new medic to the wolves, maybe sink or swim.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, that does happen more frequently than we'd probably like to admit.
Yep.
I do get asked a lot, what is some advice for like a new EMT that's going to do their first ride time, things like that. And I always encourage them to get involved, be active. Don't try to just stand there in the back and like watch. No, I want to see
Uh,
you get hands on, take the vital signs, do your assessment. Like I know that you don't know shit, but
yep.
the fact that you're willing to just get in there and try. I'm gonna get out late trying to help you learn, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
I'm good with it. I like you said, we love to teach. Most of us. There are a few that have
Yeah.
no
No
business
desire.
doing it. Yeah, no desire. But I think you're right. The vast majority of us do really enjoy teaching. And the way I look at it is like, you might be taking care of my family one day. So I want to
Hmm.
teach you what I know so I can feel confident and comfortable that when you do get your ticket or you are brand new and you're still learning, like that you're actually learning and or gaining that confidence and know what to do. But I find that if you're just kind of being the fly on the wall, stuff like that, we tend to just ignore you at that point. And like I personally, I really do try to push them in. I'll be, hey, go do this, get in there. And hopefully by the end of the shift, they've gained a little bit of that confidence. And I get it. It's very intimidating. But I think that's the best advice we could give to the newer people is like, put yourself out there. It's okay to sink a little bit. Like, we're not going to let you drown, but it's okay to go swimming and maybe go into water a few times. I think that's healthy.
Yeah, it is. But we also do have a lot of people who like talk so bad about this job that are actively working in this field. So it's like, I think it's time for you to either go teach or just find something new, man. You're clearly burnt out, and it's okay.
What do you think the cause of that is? Like, why do you think
Uh,
we talk so much shit?
Definitely, I think a lot of it has to do with that we work multiple jobs. We don't have a life outside of work most times, right? Um, it all comes back to pay, right? We
Mhm.
are severely underpaid. We are overworked, constantly understaffed, and that will get to most of us at some point, right? So
How do you think we go about improving the working conditions, including pay and not having to work, 100 hours to be able to make ends meet and stuff like that?
I think a lot of it comes from upper management, right? Because essentially they're the one that set what we get paid at. But a lot of it also has to do with the amount of calls we run on top of that, and just retention is just terrible. So if there's not enough people willing to do the job, well, that call volume falls on the guys that are already doing the job, right? But with the increase of callers that are calling for stuff that is not a medical emergency, right? Understand like we need to do a better job at teaching the public what is and isn't an emergency. And that's something that we're all taught in school, but that's something we don't really do either is teaching our community when and when not to call the ambulance. Because right now, the way they view is I pay my taxes, I can call you whenever I want. And you're right, that is within your rights to do so. But then they turn around and get mad that they're stuck in triage for 4 hours, will leave, and then call the ambulance again to go to a different hospital to do the exact same thing.
So it's funny you said that. That legit happened to me. What was it, last week? I want to say it was
Mhm.
last week while working in the ER, which is where I work now. That exact scenario played out. It was internally. I'm sitting there going, "Fuck, knock yourself out, man! Like it's not gonna get any better for you when you do that." And they're gonna probably tell that other receiving hospital where they picked you up in the
Yep.
situation. So to each his own. But I don't know that it's upper management specifically that's the causative factor of us being underpaid.
I think it's just
Personally, oh, go ahead.
I mean, I work in a private system, so for me, it is 100% upper management, right? So, but on top of that, the other reason is like poor leadership, man. It's poor leadership.
But
If
how
you're
do we go
talking,
about sorry, go ahead.
like, if you're talking down on your ground crews, like, oh, well, they're lazy, they're this, they're that. I mean, they're not gonna want to come to work, and that's really it. It's retention.
Sure. Yeah, and that culture needs to change 100%. Like if your
Oh
leadership is
yeah.
just, constantly shitting on you, like that's obviously not going to be conducive to anybody's, working relationship with between
Hmm.
management and the worker bees and all that stuff. I guess where I'm kind of going with it is how do we advocate for a higher pay as a profession? And I think one of the biggest things is, and this is coming from somebody who has a certificate as a paramedic. I do not have a degree. I
Hmm.
really think that's going to be one of the big things that does allow for us to push for a higher wage is moving more towards having the degree. Now,
Yeah.
with that being said, again, I'm a certificate medic. I don't know that there's any difference between there's degree medic versus a cert medic. But with that being said, you have a college education, and I think that at least allows for conversation to be had to advocate for a higher pay. What do you think about that?
So here in Texas, we have two types of medics, right? You have your EMTP, which are the guys like you and me, certificate, and you have your licensed paramedics, which are the guys that went to college. Um, and I can tell you that my pay and their pay are the exact same pay. What I can do in the field and what they can do in the field are the exact same thing. So with that being the case, it's like it's less likely that anybody is willing to go to college to become a paramedic, right? Um, and we've done fine as a group of providers, clinicians, going through that year to 2 year program to do what we do. Do I think that it will change much in our pay? Not necessarily. And part of the reason is because when Reagan was president, he deemed our service non essential in terms of there's police essential, fire essential, emergency med not essential. So I'm like, well, so we're losing out on the public funding and grants on top of that. Instead, the fire department gets all that funding.
Are you guys nationally registered in Texas?
Yes, we are. We recognize the national red.
S-
Yeah,
But is that required to become a medic?
it is required.
So you have your certificate medics that are non-licensed, then you have your college degree medics that are licensed, but you
Yep.
both have to take the national registry in order to practice as a paramedic. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what define Oh man, I have questions. So let me give a little context. In New Hampshire, I am a licensed paramedic under the direction of a physician. I
Mhm.
cannot practice independently or anything like that. Like I couldn't go to a sporting event and be like, "Hey, I'm a paramedic and here's my national registry. Can I provide medicine for you?" I have to work for a company that has a medical director, a physician that
Mhm.
oversees everything I do and that signs off on my license to allow me to practice medicine in the state of New Hampshire.
Yep.
What is the difference between you guys having the two different uh I don't even know what to call it. Like the two
Okay,
different
so
titles?
so but in theory we're all licensed in Texas, right? So it's just the patch that is different. Their patch will read licensed paramedic. My patch reads paramedic. But we have to work for a company under a doctor the same way. Their patch costs more than mine.
Okay, so that's kind of where I'm going with all this. Like, they don't get any benefit whatsoever. They have
No.
a $20,000, $30,000 bill now, and that's how it was for me. Like my
Yeah.
paramedic class in 2012 was like 10 grand, give or take. The associate's degree program that was local here was like right around 20,000. So it was like double the cost. We both come out and it says paramedic at the end of the day. There was no difference. We have the same gold patch. There's, in New Hampshire, you have to be nationally registered to take the test, and that's it. There's no, like, between us, you could not tell the difference of whether you're a certificate medic versus a degree medic.
Yeah, so there is one difference for us though.
Okay.
It's the amount of CE hours that we need to recertify. I need less. They need more than I do.
Everything about this makes no sense to me.
So it's like there's no real factor to drive me to want to become a licensed paramedic. I'm like, that's cool. I'm fine with just being a certificate medic.
Is there any benefit at all to becoming a licensed paramedic?
No.
Outside of saying you have a college degree?
Outside of saying, yeah, I went to college for 2 years, because really all you need is the associates in any field. It doesn't even need to be in this field. It can be any field. Just, I went to college for 2 years. That's it.
Hold on. So is there an actual specific like associate paramedic, or are you saying like if you have any associate's degree, then you can become a licensed paramedic?
Yes.
So if I have an associate's degree in general studies, but I went to paramedic school on the side, I would be considered a licensed paramedic.
You can submit your application to be a licensed paramedic and pay more than what I paid and get a patch that says licensed paramedic on it.
I thought we did some weird things here in New Hampshire, but y'all are taking the cake.
I think we are the true live free or die state.
Yeah, right? That's our motto. That's New Hampshire motto, literally.
I think we need to switch mottos, because what our state motto really is, it's not don't mess with Texas. It's not. It's the friendly state.
And, coming from the Northeast, I'm like, I don't know how I would feel about that. I've never been to Texas. I would love to visit one day. That'd be cool.
You should. We can drive for 13 hours and somehow still be in Texas.
Yeah, that's just wild to me. I do like watching the Texas game wardens though. Like, hey, let me visit with you, partner. I love those guys.
They are awesome. They also have like the most power within the state. So.
Oh, same with us. Our game wardens, they don't even need a warrant to go in your house. Nope. It's insane. Like that, we're just coming in, and you're like, huh?
Yeah, all they need is a suspicion that you have an illegal game in there. That's it.
Yep. So around where you guys are there a lot of like fire-based services that are dual medic and all that stuff, or is it more private and then there's fire?
It's an even mix. So there's a lot of fire-based systems here, and there's a lot of private systems here. Some of our fire-based systems are actually switching to the single role function. So they're hiring medics who want to be paramedics day in, day out, which I think is great because they're offering a great pay for it too. So with the benefits.
Yeah, and some of my closest friends, are firefighter medics, and I've always asked them, I'm like, you guys do two completely different jobs. Like being a paramedic and being a firefighter are night and day different. There is some crossover, of course, like without a doubt, but it is two completely different skill sets. Like I know nothing about fire, and I'm a paramedic. I know you put the wet stuff on the hot stuff, and like that's about the extent of my knowledge. Just stay the fuck away from it. That's how I treat fire. And then yet you have these guys that are just like experts on both ends of it. And I always question like why is it like that? I really feel like it should be separated and allow for more focus on the fire base, focus on the medicine base, and allow that career development to go there. And I'm not saying by any means that like people don't do both. Like I said, I know some that are just incredible at both jobs, but I always ask them, and a lot of them don't really like the medicine. And I think that is starting to change a little bit, but a lot of firefighters got their paramedic to get onto a good fire department. and it always made me just kind of scratch my head. So I like asking people around the country like how it's done and what
Yeah,
those dynamics are.
yeah. So I know here. I mean, it's the same thing, right? I've met plenty of guys who got their medic because they wanted to work for a specific department because it pays well, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
but but they don't want to be medics, and that's part of the issue. So I was like, well, I mean, I don't know because I don't want to fight fires. I run away from fires. That's just me.
Yep, same. I don't like being hot.
Yeah, me neither. It's kind of weird because I live in Texas and I think it's hot enough. I don't want to be in like a building where it's like 500 Celsius.
Yeah, absolutely. No, no.
I'm
I've
good.
done I've done enough fire standbys where I'm like, across the street, hanging out, in the shade, and I'm sitting there dying. Like I just like
Yep.
look at these guys, and I'm like, how are you doing that right now?
Right. So yeah, no. I think moving towards like the single function role is helping a lot too because it allows the patient to get better help, better care. Right. I'm not saying that those guys that are fire medics aren't doing their job. They're doing a great job.
Hmm.
Right. They're taking care of what needs to be taken care of, but at the same time, I mean, for like their mental health sake, on top of all that, they really don't want to tack on that part either. So, or they shouldn't have to be forced to do it.
Yeah, and like I said, I never had any desire to be a firefighter, nor even an EMT paramedic, any of those things. And it was just a buddy of mine who was like, "Hey, you should come check this out one day." And I was like, "Sure, I'm not really doing anything else in life. Why not?" And that was
Mhm.
like how I kind of got into it. How did you get into EMS?
Out of spite, actually.
Okay,
I had a
tell me a
bad
story.
I had a bad experience on an ambulance after my car accident. Um, Long story short, me and my wife got into a car accident, and she was about 6 months pregnant with our son, and the firefighters were trying their hardest to get her to refuse transport. Mind you, this accident, they had to open the passenger door for her, like extricate her out of the car. She was able to walk. She was alert times 4, but she was complaining of pain to her abdomen. And they were like, "Oh no, we think you're fine. We don't. It's up to you if you want to go, but we don't think you need to go."
Oh,
At the same time, I'd walked up to a guy who was on the engine, and I told him, "Hey, I can't really close my fist, like make a fist. Like this is all I could do." And he was like, "Oh, what happened?" I was like, "Well, I got into the car accident. My arm went hot, and then it went cold." And when I looked at my arm right here, I had the Dodge logo from my horn, from the horn of my Charger, like embedded into my arm. Like the logo was there, and it was there for like 6 months after the accident, right? So the airbag had blown, and I put my arm out to block my face and actually fractured my arm. But I was told by this firefighter that it's probably just a bruise and that I'd be fine. Um, So after that, I had a concussion for about a year. I was taking caffeine pills every morning for my headaches, and my arm was fractured for about 4 months. Took 4 months to heal. And my wife, she tore a muscle in her knee, which has since healed. Um, and my son's fine. The baby that was in the pregnant at that time, he's great.
all right, good, good. I was
But
gonna ask like,
yeah, so I did it out of spite. I was like,
so
no
you
one should, so no one should ever receive the care that I received that night, right? So it's like they're trying their hardest to get us to refuse. In the end, they transported us because we requested it. It was like, it's just, but why did we have to like fight to go to the hospital after this major accident?
Yeah, those are words that you would never hear out of my mouth as a medic. Like, you don't need to go to the hospital. I almost encourage anybody that I come in
Yeah,
contact with, let's just go.
right.
It makes my life much easier, right? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy that they would even like dance around that, and let alone just give you shitty care. That's unfortunate, man.
So
But
what
at
I
least
did,
you took that and then said, you know what? I'm going to do better. And here you are making a career out of it. So
Yes. So
everything
what I
happens for a reason, one way or the other. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So what I did was after I got my medic, I applied for the same service in spite of, right? I took all their tests, I passed, I got the job offer. I told them no.
That's a fucking awesome move. Well played. Jesus Christ. Now that is the long haul like I can't even
I
think.
I played the long
Oh
game.
God, that's good. That's the long game. Yeah, there you go. That's the
Yeah.
long game right there. That's amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right, so you've been in this for about 6 years. Final question for you. With your experience, what you've seen in the EMS culture and all of that, what is one thing if you could change and actually just like instill the change today, like this is how it's going to be, what would it be?
I hope we stop running lights and sirens transporting a CPR because I do believe running hot with a patient who is technically clinically dead in the back of an ambulance puts so many more lives at risk than what it really needs to be. Because the general public will see lights and sirens and freak out. And more times than not, there have been major wrecks that occurred. So I do not believe that we should be risking the lives of the public for someone that we might, and I say might very loosely, have less than a 10% chance of actually resuscitating.
All right, well, that's an interesting answer. I appreciate that, and it's funny because I would encourage the EMTs a lot of the times to turn the lights off, and it was more or less because they were driving like an asshole, and I was
Mm-hmm.
fearful of my own life and my
Mm-hmm.
patient's life, and it's like it's just not needed. So I can appreciate that answer. That's
Yep.
definitely a point that people need to hear is like it's not only just the general public that causes the accidents. It's like they kind of freak out when they see those lights and sirens, and that just goes to any time we're running hot. So it's like you really got to use judgment and ask yourself, does this patient truly need to be in the emergency room all of what 2 minutes faster? I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Now, if you're in like rush hour traffic, things like that, then I'm okay with having the lights to not sit in traffic for 45 minutes to get that patient to the
Yeah.
hospital. Don't get me wrong. Like use good judgment.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. And when people, especially in those critical patients, those are the ones that you almost have to slow it down because that adrenaline just makes you just kind of tunnel vision and you're hitting the floor with that gas pedal. And like I said, I
Mm-hmm.
would tell them a lot of times, like, hey, just if you can't, I would usually prompt them, hey, nice and easy, nice and easy. And after two nice and easies, it's, hey, turn the lights off. We
Yeah.
don't need them
Exactly.
anymore. As the paramedic in the back, I'm telling you right now, like, turn the lights off, drive regular with traffic, please. And
Yeah.
and I pissed off a lot of people by doing that, but at the end of the day, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like it's about me and it's about my patient. So, I
Get
applaud
me.
that.
Yes, I get me and the patient there safely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's
So
not much more that they can do in that first few minutes anyways that I am not already doing in the back of this ambulance. So
right, because most times we're still trying to get them signed into the hospital.
yeah, exactly. It's a good thing you
How's-
drove real fast there.
Right. You caught.
All right, Anthony. What's that?
Yeah, all right. You got me here just 2 minutes ahead of the last fire guy. So great. I get to put on his this patient's bracelet 2 minutes sooner.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, man. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I really appreciated talking with you. I learned a lot about Texas, that's for sure. And hey, man, I really look forward to seeing you on TikTok and talking with you more. Let's just talk one more time. We have the Medics After Dark Discord. Check that out if you're in EMS and fire or police, any first responders, things like that. Definitely check it out. Again, that's called Medics After Dark. Was there anything else that you wanted to promote real quick?
Yes. And my fellow medics, basics, police, fire. Don't be scared to seek help if you're ever feeling down. We need to burn that old stigma. You're not weak if you get help. Like, there's a bunch of us out here that have done it, and it's okay.
Amen to that, bro. Amen to that. Absolutely. Seek the help if you need it. And you just remember, you can't take care of a patient if you're not like sound in your own mind. So take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. That's a great point. All right, Anthony. Well, thanks again, man. And we will talk soon.
Alrighty, thank you.